What if I told you that some Mercedes-Benz cars were never designed with an end in mind? Not built to last a warranty period, not even a few decades, but engineered as if mechanical failure was simply unacceptable. Long before software updates, fragile electronics, and aggressive cost-cutting became normal, Mercedes engineers worked under a very different philosophy. These cars were expected to survive brutal climates, endless stop-and-go traffic, high-speed autobahn runs, and decades of daily abuse without losing their composure. Taxi drivers, military units, families, and professionals around the world relied on them not because they were beautiful or fast, but because they worked every single day for years on end. In this video, we're breaking down 6 legendary Mercedes models that represent the absolute peak of that era. Cars built with such obsessive over-engineering that they didn't just age well, they refused to age at all. These aren't just old Mercedes, they are mechanical survivors, and each one tells the story of a time when durability wasn't a feature, it was the entire mission. To understand how serious Mercedes-Benz once was about durability, you don't start with their biggest or most expensive cars. You start here. The 190e was supposed to be the brand's compact, entry-level sedan, but Mercedes engineers treated it with the same discipline they applied to their flagships. Introduced in the early 1980s and built until 1993, the W201 was developed under a simple but radical idea: downsizing the car without downsizing the engineering. The body structure was exceptionally rigid for its size, the suspension was far more advanced than anything else in the segment, and the mechanical components were designed to handle stress levels most compact sedans would never survive. Under the hood, both gasoline and diesel engines were deliberately understressed, prioritizing longevity over performance figures. These cars became known for running hundreds of thousands of miles with minimal intervention, maintaining tight, solid driving characteristics long after competitors had fallen apart. The 190e proved something important. Mercedes' obsession with reliability wasn't reserved for luxury elites. Even their smallest sedan was built as if it might need to survive decades of real-world abuse. That mindset alone is why so many W201s are still quietly driving around today, refusing to acknowledge their age. If the 190e proved that Mercedes could build a small car to last forever, the W124 proved they could do it at scale. Introduced in 1984 and produced until 1997, the W124 was engineered during what many consider the final golden age of Mercedes-Benz, a period when durability was treated as a moral obligation rather than a selling point. This car wasn't just solid, it was obsessively engineered. The body structure was massively reinforced, corrosion protection was taken seriously, and every moving part was designed to operate under minimal stress. Under the hood, engines like the M103 inline-6 and the legendary diesel variants became famous for their ability to accumulate enormous mileage without losing refinement. These cars didn't just survive heavy use, they thrived in it. That's why the W124 became the backbone of taxi fleets across Europe, capable of cruising at high speeds all day and returning to work the next morning without complaint. Mercedes tested this platform in ways that would terrify modern manufacturers, running prototypes at sustained autobahn speeds for thousands of miles because professional drivers demanded absolute reliability. Decades later, countless W124s are still in daily service around the world, not as collector pieces, but as working cars. The W124 wasn't built to impress on launch day. It was built to still be running when most other cars had already been forgotten. This is where the legend truly becomes global. The Mercedes-Benz 300d W123 wasn't just a reliable car, It became the worldwide reference for what automotive durability looked like in the real world. Built between 1976 and 1985, the 300D was powered by the legendary OM617 diesel engine, a power plant so massively understressed that mechanical failure almost felt optional. With modest power figures, this engine was never asked to work hard, and that was exactly the point. It was designed to run all day, every day, in heat, cold, dust, traffic, and abuse that would destroy most modern engines in a fraction of the time. The mechanical fuel injection system avoided complex electronics entirely, and the cast iron construction was built to tolerate conditions that bordered on mechanical cruelty. That's why the 300D became the backbone of taxi fleets across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, regularly surpassing 500,000 miles, and in many cases crossing the million-mile mark on original engines. These cars weren't pampered, they were worked relentlessly. And yet, decades later, many of them still start every morning without hesitation. The 300D didn't just prove that Mercedes could build a durable car. It proved that, when reliability was treated as a priority rather than a compromise, a car could outlast generations of owners. This is where luxury and mechanical immortality collided. The Mercedes-Benz 300SD W126 took everything the brand had learned about durability and wrapped it in full S-Class refinement. Built between 1981 and 1991, this was the first production luxury sedan to pair a diesel engine with flagship-level comfort, and it changed expectations forever. At its heart was the same OM617 turbo diesel, now operating under even less stress thanks to the heavier, more relaxed S-Class platform. With just enough power to move the car effortlessly, the engine barely acknowledged it was working, which is exactly why these cars became legendary for longevity. Mercedes engineered the W126 during its peak over-engineering era, when cost was secondary and reliability was non-negotiable. The body was heavily galvanized, the doors were massive, the insulation was extreme, and every system was designed to operate flawlessly for decades. These cars became the preferred choice for diplomats, executives, and taxi fleets in some of the harshest environments on the planet, regularly accumulating staggering mileage while still delivering true luxury. The 300SD proved something no one expected at the time. Comfort, prestige, and near-industrial reliability could exist in the same car. If most cars are designed for roads, this one was designed for survival. The original Mercedes-Benz G-Class W460 was never meant to be comfortable or sophisticated. It was engineered to work where roads barely existed, and where mechanical failure could mean being stranded hundreds of miles from help. Introduced in 1979 and produced in its original form until the early 2000s, the W460 was built to military standards, with simplicity and strength taking priority over everything else. Solid axles, mechanical locking differentials, and a ladder frame chassis gave it the kind of structural integrity that modern SUVs simply don't attempt. Under the hood, engines like the naturally aspirated four-cylinders and diesels were deliberately slow, understressed, and brutally reliable, capable of running on questionable fuel and surviving extreme heat, dust, and constant load. This is why early G-Class models became staples in deserts, mines, farms, and remote regions across the world, often racking up hundreds of thousands of miles under conditions that destroy normal vehicles. The W460 proved that durability doesn't require complexity. Sometimes, the most reliable solution is the simplest one, built strong enough to endure anything you throw at it. If there was ever a car that proved Mercedes-Benz could over-engineer anything, even a luxury convertible, it was the SLR 129. Built between 1989 and 2001, this wasn't a weekend toy designed for short-term enjoyment. It was a rolling engineering statement created during a time when Mercedes still believed that perfection justified any cost. The R129 was developed over more than a decade, and it shows in every detail. The chassis was massively reinforced. Safety systems were far ahead of their time, and the structure was so rigid that it defied everything convertibles were supposed to be. Under the hood, Mercedes offered a lineup of engines that prioritized smoothness and longevity, from bulletproof inline-six units to legendary naturally aspirated V8s like the M119. These engines were built to operate under minimal stress, making high mileage feel almost inevitable rather than impressive. Even the complex systems, such as the fully automatic hydraulic soft top and the deployable rollover protection, were engineered and tested obsessively to last. Decades later, many R129s are still in daily use, with working roofs, tight suspensions, and engines that refuse to wear out. The SLR 129 didn't just survive the passage of time, it embarrassed it, and that's why it stands at the top of this list as one of the most over-engineered, durable, and complete Mercedes models ever built. Looking at these 6 Mercedes-Benz models, it becomes clear that their legendary reliability was never an accident. They were built during a time when engineers were given the freedom to prioritize durability over cost, simplicity over complexity, and long-term survival over short-term trends. These cars weren't designed to impress for a few years. They were designed to work day after day for decades. That's why so many of them are still on the road today, quietly outlasting newer and supposedly more advanced vehicles. They serve as reminders of an era when true luxury meant never worrying about whether your car would get you home. And while the automotive world has changed, these machines prove that building something to last forever was once not only possible but expected.